it's Andrea from WellAndrea, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about my movement practice and how walking is really the foundation of my movement practice and has been the foundation of my movement practice for many, many years. So, of course, I've been thinking about this because I just finished listening to Mark Sisson's book, Born to Walk. And I briefly reviewed that last week. So if you are interested in my thoughts about that book, go back to last week's video and listen to it. So when I look back at my movement practice and my walking practice, I really always walked a lot. So even as a teenager, I would oftentimes walk places where other people took like public transportation or the bus. I grew up in Europe, so I've always walked. And then about 30 years ago, I lived in a neighborhood that was really, really hilly, and I lived on the top of the hill, and there was really nowhere else to go but downhill. And well, I could go up a little bit more, maybe less than a quarter of a mile, and then there was a road that led down, and then I could loop around and walk up the other way. And either road was extremely, extremely steep. So it was an amazing workout, and a round trip was almost 5 miles. So that was really a challenging walk. And what I realized then, it was a neighborhood where people were really very health conscious and, were exercising, playing tennis and, going to the gym and swimming and doing all sorts of things, and also walking a lot. So I saw a lot of older people walking up and down those hills, and I kept thinking back then, well, if I keep just doing this, I can do this forever. Now, looking back, the older people that I just mentioned, they weren't all that old, right? They were really in their 50s and 60s, and maybe some in their 70s, but, it's all a matter of perspective, I guess. So, walking up and down a steep hill is a great workout, right? It may be sometimes a little bit too much. I now live in a very flat neighborhood, and which has the advantage that I really can go for really short walks. There are many different roads, literally, that I can take, and I can go for a 5-minute walk, I can go for a 10-minute walk, 30, an hour, 2 hours, whatever, and that's actually really wonderful. Because I think sometimes, I know that when I lived in my old neighborhood, I couldn't go for a short walk really because it was sort of awkward. I felt like I walked up the hill and a little bit down and then turned around, and it just didn't feel right. And I also sort of was stuck, I think, for a long time in this idea that, for it to be worth it, whatever that means, I had to move at least 30 minutes or something, or an hour, and I think that is just not true. In fact, we know that one of the keys to being healthy is really moving throughout the day, not sitting too long, and just breaking the day up with movement, and how beneficial all that is. So I think, that's something to remember. And I think, there are many ways that we can add short walks or longer walks to our day. And I realize I am very fortunate. And because I live in a climate that's very mild, I live in a walkable neighborhood. Those are all things that not everybody has access to. But I think, oftentimes we can maybe be creative. So we don't always have to walk outdoors. We can walk indoors, hallways, malls, staircases, many things. I've always tried to incorporate walking into my workday, and I worked in very different places. I worked in a downtown area where I just walked in a very urban environment. I worked at a company that had sort of its own park with walking, man-made, mainly walking trails. I worked at a company that really was built right next to hiking trails. I've been teaching for many years. Different campuses have different walkability, but I've always tried to add as much walking to my day as I can. And actually now before I teach a class, I make it my goal to walk, and it calms me down, it makes me present, it helps me think about maybe some last minute little additions to the class. If there's something I listen to on the radio on the way to campus that I could incorporate maybe into the topic. And so that is, I think, really helpful. It just makes me a more present and ready instructor. So I walk about a mile before every class I teach. I try to walk afterwards, and I try to walk as much as I can during the day. So I think one of the problems that we sometimes hear in the fitness industry, especially on social media, may be sort of the statement that, walking isn't enough, or, walking isn't really worth it. And I think nothing could be further from the truth. I do think walking is very beneficial, and we should incorporate as many walks into our day as we can. And I feel like if we have that mindset, and if we are aware of that, we are more likely to find ways to really incorporate walking into our day, right? I mean, if it just may mean that we park a little further away in the parking lot, or if we shop in a downtown area, we, we'll walk 2-3 miles to run our errands, and we're gonna carry the things around. And I think that can make a real difference. And Katie Bowman from Nutritious Movement and Move Your DNA is her podcast, and she has written many books, including Move Your DNA and many others. She tries to encourage you to, set up your day and your life to add movement, right? So to walk places if you can, and to set up your kitchen in a way that you have to reach for things and things like that. And I do think that encouragement and sort of acknowledging that walking is beneficial can make a real difference in our attitude towards it. And I really, again, want to say how I definitely agree with Mark Sisson that walking is the foundation of other movement, and it's absolutely worth it. And you can walk in many different ways. I'm walking very slowly right now, and that has its place. And then I will walk faster, and that has its place. And so I think, I would encourage you to try to add more walking to your day. See what you can come up with. How can you add walking to your day? Walk more steps, more miles, more time, whatever it may be. Let us know in the comment, and keep moving and keep walking. Bye now.